Hi there, everyone. This is Darren with SimNation. Just continuing the Zero to Hero series. For those who are not aware, week one, the beginning of the college football season begins tomorrow night, Tuesday. We'll see who's going to start heading towards the playoffs. This is 2025. There will be some differences, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and log into Notre Dame real quick. I've already done all my other teams, so. I'm probably not gonna show you my recruiting right away because then this will be like a 6 hour video. Um, so two of the key things I'm gonna talk about today is playbook and roster. So we've talked about Notre Dame a little bit. I showed you about in the past ones about how I hired coaches, and then I showed you how I did some basic recruiting in the off season, and then also training camp and stuff like that. And just for a refresher, I'm going to try to run a West Coast hybrid offense, mostly just because uh, I think it's going to be the best thing for me. So I'm gonna throw the ball a lot. I'm probably gonna throw the ball a little bit shorter, um, mostly just because I don't really have the right people to be able to throw a long ball game like I do with my other teams. So we'll go right into depth. So one of the first things about depth that you need to know is what system are you running. So we'll go ahead and do this real quick and hopefully it shows up correctly. Quarterback. Let me just make sure it's not doing something strange, and it's not. So when you look at my quarterbacks, is West Coast is short dink and dunks. So short to medium passing. Uh, Vertical is more long passing. So if your coach says he likes the vertical, he likes throwing the ball long. If he likes the short passes, he likes throwing the ball short. So if you look at this, I do have one guy who has an arm. I have another guy who kind of has an arm. So Houston is pretty good, but I have two guys who actually are better at accuracy, which is generally short to medium. Now, the challenge I'm going to have here is I don't really have really strong intelligence. So initially I was like, yeah, let me just let Glenn start. But what I'm going to probably do is have Shaver start as my quarterback. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to let Sands start, and then Shaver will be the backup. And then if something happens to them, then I'll have to switch to a more vertical. Now, probably ask me why I'm doing this, is you generally want your offensive system to fit within what your coaches are good at. Because in the end of the day, they are the ones calling the plays. Even with a custom playbook, they still are the ones that are going to pick the play. You don't get to really choose that unless you set the weights really high. So that's how quarterback, and if you notice, I'm using quick view roster a lot just to be able to figure this out. So in a West Coast offense, I care more about hands and blocking than I do about the traditional outside. So Stevenson's going to be the starter because if you look here, uh, he doesn't have great agility. He's stupid, but he's got good speed, good hands. The next guy up will likely be Martinez, who will be his backup, and I'll probably figure out a way to get Martinez into this more often than not. And then I'm gonna take the third best guy, and in this case, it's gonna be Wayland. Uh, Varela is probably a little bit better, but I'm gonna go with Wayland. Um, and again, I'm looking at speed and hands, right? So for fullback, I will use a fullback. So again, I'm looking for blocking ability this time around. So Almanza will be the starter, followed by really Schumacher. And I may think about that if I start throwing the ball more and more to the fullback, I'll probably have Schumacher be the starter. I don't intend to do that, by the way. So tight ends, I don't have many of these, by the way. I've got to be careful. So I have two decent tight ends. Again, they can block. So Mullen will be the starter. And then I'm probably going to have we'll have Stevens. He's not as good of a blocker, but I'm gonna throw the ball quite a few times at tight end. And then Hill again, I'm going to have McBride probably be the backup. I'm just going to do both of them because I don't have that many to play with. So Greg Serrano. Normally I would have different people being the backups. It's just I'm being a little bit lazy at this point. Wide receiver again, because I'm playing shorter, speed always matters. Anyone who tells you otherwise is not thinking it through. But agility is going to matter a little bit more in the short game than it normally would. So Sadler is going to be my starter. And then what I'm going to look for is, again, I'm just going to sort Hill, and I'm going to look for someone who has good hands. Now, I probably should have Sadler. No, we'll put Morris. So wide receiver 2 for me is always someone who's fast, who can break things open. So that in this case will be Morris. Wide receiver 3, I normally have someone because they're operating. Wide receiver 3 and 4, since they operate on the inside, I want someone who has better agility in hands than I want someone who's fast. So in this case, I'm probably going to put Cox Hill, Roger Cox. And I know that Skelter's going to say something about that, but we'll leave that alone. Uh, Jason Bridges, I don't know why I said Jeff. Jason Bridges will be Hill, and then again, I want to have a speedster right around Hill, so we're going to have LaFlame be the backup Hill. And then I actually can probably put Vaughn Hill, because that way I can have someone who can break the game open. And then Hill, it doesn't really matter because these guys aren't really going to play that often, to be honest with you. So Boyd will be Hill. And again, I'm not paying as much attention to this as I normally do because I'm streaming this or I'm recording this. So I already picked Morris, so I can't pick Morris again. So we'll just make Boyd across the bottom. And again, intention wise is I want people with hands. I do want this one to be a speed store. I'm going to have him be a speed store as well, just to offset. I'm probably going to have most of my passing focused. Another way you could do this is, and sometimes I will do this, I'm going to do it anyways, is I'm going to move Cox there and then I'm going to move Sadler there. I'm going to make Sadler my primary, so I'm throwing inside more often. And we'll see how that pans out for me. That could be a bad mistake, but who cares? Tackle, again, I care more about the pass block than the run block at this point. I like people who have intelligence. I like people who have skill. The problem is I don't have a lot of intelligence, so we're going to go with Trice on this side because he's my best pass blocker, and then we're going to go with Lomax on this side. Now, with Lomax on this side, with the fact that he's an 88 run blocker, I am likely going to run to the right side when I do run. And that's just something to keep in the back of your mind is wherever you decide that you want to run the ball, uh, you should put your strongest run blocker on that side and also someone who has decent strength. As you can see, Lomax is the best guy I have strength-wise. I don't have great speed. That's going to be a problem throughout the season, but I'll have to deal with that. So Provost will be the backup here because he's the second best run blocker. And then I'll probably put Stall Hill, and then Lang will just be the backup across the board. At guard, guards, again, I want to have good pass blocking out there. So Silva just is really horrible. So inside, I will put Hart Hill because he's decent. And then because I want to run this side, I'm going to put O'Donnell Hill because he's got a good run blocking. And then I'll put Treble Hill as a backup. And then I'll probably put Treble Hill again because I really don't want Silver to see the field that often. Yeah, he's got 89, 95. Actually, that's not true. I'm being unfair to him. We'll let him be the backup to Hart. And then we'll just let Kermit, we'll just do it that way. I'll flip them. Okay. So, and then of course, center, again, keeping the same theme of what I'm trying to do. So in this case, it's going to be White who will be the starter. Me and the CPU routinely disagree with each other because the CPU loves strength, whereas I'm not as big of a fan. I may make Santiago actually the starter, and then I'll make White the backup, and then we'll make Mayo the behind that. I'm gonna go ahead and set my backups, and I'm just gonna let Jimmy Landrum do it because he should follow what I already had. So we'll go to defense. So with defense, just a quick reminder. So when you look at my defensive guy, what I'm looking at is a 4-3 hybrid. Uh, I'm gonna run 4-3 because I don't really have a lot of the speed to be able to do things. We'll go Hill. So with a 4-3, you tend to want to have strong people in the middle, fast people on the outside, and then you want your middle linebacker to be a pretty solid tackle and your two outside linebackers to be pretty good in coverage. So we'll go ahead and start on that. So I'm going to kill more about strength in the beginning hill. I don't have really solid tacklers. That's going to be a problem. But we're going to do whatever this dude's name is, SQVL. Sorry about that. And then we'll do Stample, and then we'll do Bar. Because again, I want these guys to be strong. I want them to eat space. Um, and as long as they get a hand on someone, it probably should end well for me. And then we'll do Horsley. I have a lot of defensive tacklers, so this really doesn't bother me. I'm keeping this simple if you, because I know some people are going to ask me about, Darren, you normally have these really elaborate uh, packages and stuff like that. I'm choosing not to. And it's not because I'm trying to hide anything from you. It's on zero to hero, I try to keep things as basic as I can. Now, I want speedsters on the outside, but I also want some people who have above 65 in strength. So Mullen definitely will get the start. I'm gonna move him over Hill though because I want him to line up against the right tackle, and then I'm gonna take Cawthron and put him up. Normally, I would look to see what the other team has done, but the problem I have with that is week one. I'm not going to be able to see that, and I'm not going to be able to see what their lineup looks like. So I'm a little bit limited in that regard. So we'll do Manzo next, and then we'll do Rockwell, and then we'll do Herrera. Um, Now we'll go linebacker again, 4-3, right? I'm not going to run many. I may not run any 3-4 actually. Um, so what I'm looking for initially for the inside linebacker, middle linebacker, I would like him to have some speed, but what I really care more about is who's got strength. Um, so I'm gonna play Meredith in the middle. I'm a little worried about his tackling ability, to be honest with you, but I want someone who can get in there and kind of disrupt. I'm gonna play long as well for those few times I do that. Now for outside, I want fast. So Foley's a natural person to. I'm gonna put Foley on the right side. I may actually I'll put him on the left. So Foley will go there. Oliver will go Hill, um, and then we'll do Wagner, and then we'll do Riley. Um, Again, because they're going to be more in coverage, I care less about a lot of different things. Now, the reality is I probably could put Branch Hill, but I don't like his strength. He's pretty weak, but I will let him be the backup. And then I already did Long. I already did Meredith, so we'll do Brasino. Um, and then Meadows is just going to be across the board at the bottom. So at safety, I want my strong safety to be a little bit more boxish because I think I'm going to have to play them, but I want my free safety to be more of a coverage. Now, the reality is I don't have much to work with, but Lombard is kind of too slow in some regards, but I'm going to go with Groves as the strong safety. I may regret this again, but Lombard would be the backup, and then of course we have Morton because the other guy is just not ever going to see the field. Um, Free safety wise, again, I want this guy to be fast. I want him to be able to do decent coverage. So in this case, it's going to be Cardle. Cardle's not going to bring anyone down with 17 tackling. I know that, but it just makes more sense to have him, and we'll do Slayton. Uh, Actually, I'll do Hobson because Hobson's actually better than Slayton. And then at cornerback again, this is going to be a little bit painful for me because almost all these guys are converted. So they won't have skill. I'm going to draw penalties. I know it, but I'm going to have to live with it. And I'm not going to have agility or intelligence. So generally what I do is for people who don't have great skill, I tend to put them as nickel backs. So in this case, Flores will be the actual starter. He'll be CB1. And then I'm going to have to settle for someone who actually has intelligence, which is unfortunately Flores. We're going to go with Gunnar Holt as the CB2. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Conley Hill. And again, I don't really care about overall. I know some of you are going to ask me about that. Overall doesn't matter to me. It doesn't really help you in this regard. Gary Chambliss, I think I already did Flores. We'll do Poindexter. Actually, I want to probably put Poindexter over Hill. And again, I know I'm going to be living with penalties this season because Manning was the guy who I thought would be a really good quarterback, who turned out to not be a good quarterback, and therefore is now playing on defense. We'll do Mosley, and then I'm just going to go Hamby across the bottom. So that's kind of the rhyme and the reason of what I'm doing. Again, it's in the context of what I think my offense is going to be. And what we'll do is now we'll go to backup. I'll let Landrum set it up again. And then I'm going to go special teams. We'll double check this real quick. This isn't rocket science. I'm going to pick the kicker with the best distance and the next best accuracy. So I disagree. Lynn's going to be the kicker, not Mahan. I probably should have went out and got a kicker, but I didn't. So it is what it is. Anderson definitely is going to be the punter. Everything else is there. So we're just going to back up and we'll let him set it again. So that's kind of the depth chart. So that's how I set a depth chart. Again, I'm putting it in the context of a system that I'm running a West Coast. So for quarterback, I value accuracy and intelligence most. For running backs, you're always going to value speed and hands, but agility matters to me too. Fullback, I want blocking fullbacks because it's West Coast. And then tight end, I want speed, but I also want the ability to block because I am going to have the tight ends block quite a bit. Wide receiver, again, speed always matters, but hands and agility are the things I'm focused on because I'm running a 4-3 hybrid. My defensive tackles, I want them to be thick and I want them to be strong on the inside. Outside, I want my defensive ends to be fast, but I don't want them to have strength less than 65 because they're still going to have to do some things on the line. Inside linebackers going to be my best tackler with the best agility, best strength. Outside linebackers is going to be my fastest. Strong safety, I want someone who can play more nail the box. In this case, I don't have anybody, so both of my safeties are going to be more ball hawks. And then cornerback, I'm looking at my best skill ones who have decent speed. They've got to have decent speed. My best skill ones will be my starting cornerbacks, and then the nickel backs will be the ones that have less skill but are fast. Hopefully that helps you a little bit. I'm going to cut the video here because I'm going to do a video real quick on playbook. Thank you.